you guys? Jesse here with Ultimate Punching. And I just want to ask you guys, do you think there is a scenario where Suga Sean becomes a champion again? I am, we're coming up on UFC Paris. I'm going to make a video about that in a day or so. But I was just kind of reflecting on it. Like, I watched his sort of video right after the fight. He's like, yeah, you know what? I got beat straight up. And that to me was like, okay, that with that sort of humility, maybe you can kind of come back and become a champion, right? Like, you can figure out the hole in your game, go where you need to go to fix it, right? Some people are talking about him going to Dagestan to train with Khabib and those guys to like work on his takedown defense and all these kind of things. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that seemed, it looked like there was a level of humility there. And then a couple days later, he kind of comes out and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm still undefeated. I definitely won that fight, rounds 1, 3, 5, whatever he said, right? And like, I watched the fight back and I could only see a case for him winning 2 rounds. I really could. Like, you could make an argument that he lost all five rounds. I would say you could give the nod to him for round 5. And I think there was one where he kind of cut, I don't know if he cut Merab or he like made his nose bleed or something like that and that you could probably give him that round too. Other than that, like, it was all Merab all day. And by the way, I'm not like, you could make a case there. I don't think you could argue it for any other round, right? So like, after he kind of says this, he's like, oh, I want, and by the way, I'm a marketing guy, right? I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to get the heel. He's trying to get eyeballs. He's trying to get attention so that, when the next fight comes around, there are eyeballs on the fight, right? And then the UFC, essentially, if he wins one fight, they're like, okay, give him a rematch, right? Something like that. But, I mean, really and truly, like, I think he needs, and he did say he's taking some time off, but he needs to kind of be in the gym and just working on that takedown defense. Like, if he can stuff even a couple of takedowns per round, and because Merab did no damage, right? Like, there was one round where he really did damage. He won on control, right? There was never a KO threat, never really a submission threat. So it was basically just this kind of one-sided thing, right? And so I just keep thinking about it. And I just think, like, Suga Sean, unless he really improves in that area, he has no chance. He has no chance of getting his belt back, because right now the top contenders are, like, Merab's champion, and Umar is coming up and probably going to face Merab soon. And, Umar has great striking. We saw that on display against Corey Sandhagen. By the way, if I am Suga Sean's team, I'm reaching out to the Sandhagen team and being like, hey, listen, can you give me every piece of information you have on this? Like, we need to work on it, because he rendered Umar Nurmagomedov's grappling completely ineffective, right? And Umar won on the feet, but he didn't do anything with the takedowns or controlled time or anything like that. And so if I'm Suga Sean, I'm like, okay, how did you guys do this, right? Because, like, obviously, if you've ever trained jiu-jitsu or grappling or whatever, like, on the first stage, like, don't give up your back, right? But that entire time, Sandhagen basically turned, gave up his back, but fought 2-on-1 with two hands on one, and or he would, like, pop right back up, right? And so maybe that's a strategy to contend with Merab, right? Like, I don't know, right? I don't know. And, interestingly enough, I would be so interested to see now Sandhagen versus Merab, which, like, he probably needs to win a fight or two before we have that conversation again. But if he goes ahead and I feel like, if he can have as good of takedown defense as he did against Umar, he's going to have a really good chance of beating Merab. Right now, whether or not Merab will be champion, like I said, I think next in line is Umar Nurmagomedov. But Merab even said that, he might fight Figgy, right? So those are kind of all things. Bantamweight's actually pretty exciting right now. By the way, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like and subscribe button, helps the YouTube algorithm, helps grow the channel. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking, right? Because really and truly, like, damage is the biggest factor scored on the judges' scorecards, right? Which is why even in the aftermath of it, like, a couple judges gave O'Malley a couple rounds, right? Because like, striking is obviously the more damaging thing. Merab never really had Suga Sean in any kind of trouble, like no fear of submissions, no fear of being KO'd, not a whole lot of damage, right? But it's just he was just too good in the grappling department. So it's one of these things that, if Suga Sean can somehow deal with the takedown defense issue, that would be like, I definitely think he could become champion again, right? But one of the sort of vibes I get from his team, and I don't know, right? But I just get the sense that, like, they think they've got it all figured out, Tim Welch and all these guys. And he was champion, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, what we're doing is working. Let's keep doing it, right? But at the end of the day, like, sometimes there's somebody that does something better than you, and you got to figure out how you can kind of adopt it, right? And so, like, if you remember, GSP was the master of this, right? GSP would go to anyone and everyone who he thought, like, knew something better than him, and he would try to, like, learn it, right? He, like, just a student of the game, humility through and through, right? And the greatest of all time, by the way. And he would go to, like, all these different groups, spend countless amounts of money just to become better, right? I remember, I don't know if you guys have seen this video, but it was like, just, there was a video where he goes to Joe Rogan and he's like, listen, can you show me your, I think it was a spinning back kick, right? And Joe's like, listen, you are the greatest of all time. I can't teach you anything, but this is what I do for this kick, right? World champion, UFC champion George St. Pierre goes to Joe Rogan and he's like, can you teach me something? You know what I mean? Because he saw this thing that Joe does really well, and he's like, he can do it better than me. I want to learn it, right? And I don't get that vibe from Tim Welch and from Suga Sean and these guys. Like, no, I'm really good. We've got all the answers right here in-house. So we don't need Dagestan. We don't need Khabib. We don't need to talk to Sandhagen. We don't. And like, who knows? They might tell him to tell him no, right? They might, right? But at the end of the day, like, if you kind of admit, hey, there's a hole in my game, I need to fill it. Who are the best wrestlers in the world? It's like, okay, Dagestan. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where, and like, it probably won't happen, right? In Dagestan, just because of the fact that Omar is competing at bantamweight, right? So, like, they probably won't help Suga Sean in that way. But it's just like, figure out, go to Sandhagen, figure out how you can go to DC. His teammate, right? But, like, figuring out how you can fill that hole in your game. Because here's the thing, right? Like, now that Suga Sean, everybody's seen that weakness, right? Everybody's going to try to grapple him. You know what I mean? So, if he fights Omar, Omar's going to do that to him. Sandhagen has a bit of wrestling. He's probably going to try to do that to him, right? So, like, if he doesn't fix that, I don't think he becomes champion again, right? But yeah, if he can fix that, he definitely has a really good chance against any one of these guys, right? If he can just stop the takedown. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I'm very busy right now, so I'm going to start making more edited stuff in about a month. Take care.